Trucks, truck insurance. Sure.
Okay, it's 6:30. Let's call the meeting to order. First order of business is the minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of October 24th and delete one of the names of Smiths from the meeting members present, which is listed twice.
Oh, second that with the correction.
I have one other quick change, on line 28. The motion carries, I think it should be 702 instead of 720, is that right? Or do I have that wrong?
It's Jay's and abstentions, I think.
Is abstentions listed last?
Yes.
Okay, so it should be 702. That's all I had.
I had something on line 83. It says, Mr. Moore stated that there are new goals related to having officers cross-trained. I thought what I heard, and I could be wrong, was Mr. Moore stated that there is a plan being explored to having more officers cross-trained.
I think we were talking about the strategic plan, and it's actually a goal in the town's strategic plan.
Yes.
Okay, because I was feeling guilty because I felt like I got in front of that a little bit. And I thought what you said, we're
I
looking.
think that's okay.
Yeah.
It's a goal.
All right.
Dimitri isn't on here, is he?
Not yet.
Yeah, so then we don't need to do a roll call.
Right. You got it down. I won't let him in.
There you go. That'll teach
3
him.
hours off, he has to remember that.
So are there any other corrections or? Sure, is everyone in favor?
Aye.
Fine.
Any opposed? So the next thing on the agenda is budget review,
Recreation.
recreation.
So we're starting, I had Kevin come up like we have been doing for the past couple of years or more. We highlighted the big things that we want to change, but we'll just talk about recreation a little bit and spend a little bit of time, probably near the end. It's the last one on here, but I would like to update the budget committee on youth sports, kind of where we're at and where we think we're headed. So if you want to go, well, I'll do the first one. Recreation personnel. We've implemented some of the compensation plan. This is one of the positions that's moving up incrementally over time. This doesn't pull all the way up to the compensation plan salary, but I think that's something we're gonna kind of work on as we maneuver through youth sports and some of the things that we do. But it is another increase for the rec director, but it's not as much as you see, and you can see it on your notes there. Kevin will be leaving us in a few months. They're relocating to a different area. So with that, he gave us plenty of notice, and we're budgeting to have a 1 month overlap in that position so we can do some training if we happen to bring someone on in time. So that's a little bit of that salary increase. So
And the new person that comes on, will you get them right to fair market value?
probably not based on the compensation study. It'll be a negotiation based on experience and those things where they fall in relation to where Kevin will be at the time and what is budgeted for the budget and what we think we can manipulate. But
I
feel it's a bad
I
word.
really think you could score and not pay someone as much for this position. Because this position will be a great, like, first stepping stone for someone out of college.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna need to pay that 80,000 because you're not gonna have someone more than likely that's got 10 to 15 years experience that you need to pay them. The person in this position, I think more is gonna be better for like the fresh out of college, like Coley Sawyer. I found out they have a really good sports management program.
Mhm.
That's what I have for a degree. And so it would work if someone wanted to stay local and get their foot wet. This is great for that.
Well, I think that's another reason why we haven't really escalated that to that top level, looking at the towns and places that were in there. I don't believe our position is to that level yet, so, we need to massage some of those positions and find what our duties are, is where they need to be. So, but anyway, part of that is just that overlap of the two positions for training purposes. With that, if you wanna explain the winter recreation decrease and the office supply decrease a little bit, then we can go.
Yeah, so the winter recreation decrease is, the cross-country skiing that happens in Canaan. It's just, one, I've really crunched the numbers. Enfield sends, since I've been here, we were only sending 2 to 4 kids a year. We can't rent the small buses, vans, as I call them, from Butler because they are in use at that time. So we always have to rent a full-size bus. That costs $300 to $600 a year for that 6-week program. Plus there were some things in the background that I found out with that program that it's always been there. Mr. Buffet actually gave me quite a bit of information on that. So I kind of left that. I do still promote that for them since we can. I'm here. It's easy to promote for EBS. We did have one kid last year continue to go. Otherwise, that winter recreation is spent on the 3 buses. I have to, or it's going to 2 this year. The 2 buses I'm getting for Whaleback. Because we can't intermingle elementary and middle school kids. So I have to send separate buses. If my registration goes like last year and I get, I think what I figured 10 more elementary kids will have to go 2 buses for elementary. And so that will almost spend that whole line, but we should still be good. That's on that one. The office supply line, which is the next one, that decrease is because we don't have to buy another computer. If you look at that $1,600, there's a computer figured in there. So I don't expect that. The reason this year I asked for more money was because I was hoping we'd be in our new building, and as me being my own department, I was gonna buy a desk. Because for the 2 years I've been here, I've been on a folding table, and I would like the next person to have something a little nicer. So I was gonna buy a desk, but we are not gonna be there. So I was actually gonna talk to you and see if there's a way we can buy one and
Yeah,
figure it out.
we'll figure something out when we go. We're looking at desks and office furniture for Whitney Hall right now. So, the other thing we've done is we're not printing as much. I mean, office wide, we're trying to reduce the amount of printing, and that reduces office supplies and different things.
Oh, yeah, and I'm not using as much paper because I do have, there's only one school now that asks for actual physical paper flyers. The rest of them now will completely send it out digitally because they're seeing that that's the only way parents are actually getting messages. So we don't have to go that way. And I think the schools are looking more going that way too, so.
And then youth sports, we highlighted that. We were putting the same amount in, but after talking with Kevin last week, looking at our expenses so far, we've only ran 1 season, but looking at things that MYSL was buying that we don't have to buy. They rented a storage unit, some of those things. We're both pretty comfortable reducing that to $12,000. The one thing I do want the budget committee to remember is there's revenue coming in to offset that from the youth sports fund.
How much
So-
this year?
How much this year? I'm still pushing on Grafton, but everybody else has paid their portion of that, and we haven't yet. We're working with MYSL, who's making the payment, so Enfield will be whole. But we'll be charging, if a town doesn't pay, their parents will have to pay a substantial amount more. It'll probably go from like a $50 fee to play sports to a $90 fee if the towns don't participate, so.
And how much of that is net total?
For like what the programs make. Right now, I don't fully know because we're in the middle of basketball registration, so it changes all the time.
We run, on average, NYSL runs about 400 to 430 kids a year. So if you times that by 50, that's how much revenue comes in from the teams. I didn't bring my spreadsheet with me, but I actually run that through a spreadsheet compared to the $12,000 that we're saying sports are gonna cost. We add on top of that, the 10 hours a week that the rec director will cost. We come up with a fee, we minus out that $50, and then we bill the towns based on their participation. So, I mean, Enfield pays our fair share, Canaan pays their fair share, and it should be net zero at the end of the year. It does not come out of the Enfield taxpayer budget at all.
So 12,000 give or take is the goal
Yeah,
for revenue.
well, no, well, sort 12,000 plus like 18,000 for the rec director's portion of this. Like I said, I should have brought that spreadsheet, but it's right around that figure. We minus out what we had last year for participation, figuring our participation will stay fairly constant because it has. We minus that out, it gives us a number. And from that number, we divide that by percentage by participation from each town. And that's the letters that I'm getting ready to send out tomorrow to each of the towns, which actually, because of the decrease, is going down for all the towns. So hopefully they're happy that we're asking for a little bit less from them. The portion that we pay into this last year, it was $9,100, I think, into the youth sports fund, actually comes out of Kevin's salary line. So it's a portion of salary we would have been paying anyway. We diverted to youth sports fund, and then most of it comes back to us. So we're really just paying ourselves through the youth sports fund.
Do you anticipate that Grafton will participate or?
If they don't, starting next year in the baseball season, their parents will be paying a large amount if they want to play sports. So
Which,
part of that's working through software issues of how we do that. But we think we've got that figured out now. So we'll do that. Like I said, NYSL has said as we're figuring it out, they'll pay that difference. So it will not be on the backs of the Enfield taxpayers.
so is it safe to say that if we take all the revenues that we make from everywhere, and we subtract out all the expenses, that a recreation program is still costing us over $100,000?
When we take out the youth sports part of it, I'd say overall recreation is.
Okay. If we add youth sports into it, we're adding in more than the $12,000.
No, the youth sports line right there is $12,000
Yeah.
plus what's
Revenue.
already in his salary.
Okay.
So actually running youth sports, because we divide it between all the towns, actually lowers the cost of the town for recreation.
So I'm learning quickly about the Shoppers Net. If this were a business unit, what I'm trying to get at is a revenue producing business unit? Is it neutral or is it an expense?
Overall recreation's an expense. We don't run anything
And-
that's
okay, so
revenue producing.
Then that's what I would assume. Then the next question would be, how much of an expense is it? What's the number we're talking about?
The net.
Yes.
If you take the 162,598 and you take 16,000 out of that, that's what we're spending over here. And then we do have some general revenue that comes in from different things. I'd have to look on the revenue side to get you.
I have my computer, give me all my revenue.
Yeah, if you can pull your revenue.
And Libby, I think it's a good expense. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously we want to have recreation. I'm just trying to get my hands around.
I was gonna say, we don't run anything like that, like the business world does, so I don't have those numbers for you.
Yeah.
We're a service organization, so we just look at costs. We're not allowed to charge revenue to make revenue. The only thing we're allowed to charge by law is to offset our cost. So,
And
I mean, we hear that a lot, like, oh, you should charge this much for that. It's like, We can't, by law, we can't. That's-
Because I could make a ton, and I mean a ton of money on my summer camp. Like, I'm saying we could make a lot of money because it sells out within 14 minutes and that's 40 spots for 6 weeks. It'll sell out all 6 weeks in 14
Yeah.
minutes.
Wow.
I would boost that up and make enough money where I could have 2 helpers and be fine.
And we might be able to look at that and see if we're covering our costs,
But recreation.
but we also
not
want to provide a
just sports
service.
Either,
Yeah.
so, like he's saying, that one program, that's not a sport per se, but there are other things that they do that isn't sport.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people just see recreation and they think, basketball, soccer, baseball, but it's not.
It's a lot.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And should be if your town is
Well, it wasn't that
enriching things,
at all till this year.
right?
And I don't want to slow us down if it's gonna take a while to get the answer, but I would be curious, just to, and I get what you're saying, we can't be using it like a business to make money, but I would like to know what is the cost, and I think it was a conscious effort to market our programs to bring more in, so we've got more revenues. Did I hear that at one point?
Not really,
Okay,
and we don't market a lot outside of Enfield. It's a service we provide to our citizens and a little bit to some of the local towns, but it's,
okay,
like youth camp, we open it to Enfield citizens first. And then other people in surrounding communities can sign up if we don't sell out in 14 minutes, or they can get on the waiting list for a slot that might open, but
got it.
so
Okay,
it truly is a service like the other services we provide.
thank you. While he's looking that up, can I ask you another question? Repairs and service contracts, we were spending $3,000 a year for the last 3 years, and now we don't have anything in the budget. Is there,
Do you remember what that would be for?
Yeah, that should be, for rec desk, that's. I'll have to check, 'cause I'm pretty sure that's been paid. Yeah, that should be for our yearly, software that we run all of our, like, summer camp registration through, all of our building rentals and stuff like that.
We can look at that.
okay, and then a much smaller scale, same thing with telephone. We're spending, just a few $100s, but now we have nothing budgeted.
That's another one. We missed that on somewhere else. Check them all. Like I told you last time, if we have to add something there, we'll find it somewhere else in the budget. I
Thank you.
don't want to go up.
So year to date, $57,898 in rent. So I have about another 10,000 to make my revenue budget for the year, which is 60, so total 67,000.
Is your goal
Yeah,
for revenue?
yeah.
Okay, so it's just south of $100,000.
Does that include the community building too? Do we know?
The revenue,
Yeah.
is that part of his revenue, the community building?
No.
No?
Call her
Dimitri?
Dimitri has a question.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because I sometimes get double muted. So this comes up every year. So the summer program I really view as a service to the citizens of Enfield because, finding childcare over summer is very challenging for parents. Based on what we just said that we sell out so fast, are we going to make an active effort to actually try to expand that rather than keeping it the same size? Because my gut feeling is if we double that, we'll sell out in less than a day still.
So that would mean doubling the staff. Cause you can only have 1-to-8 ratio. So that would mean we'd have to double the staff. It is going to grow by 2 weeks, hopefully next year. Because I've talked to the staff that is returning, I've talked to multiple parents, and the problem with childcare is the weeks in August, the 2 weeks before. parents struggle to find it, and I'm like, well, that's not a problem whatsoever. So I do have it in my notes for the next person, and it is already programmed on our software to go 8 weeks next year. So we can expand it one way to make it work.
The other problem with more spaces is we're limited on space. Hughes Park and that area is pretty much full. So we'd have to find another whole location to run summer camp. So we're trying to work, does Whaleback sell out too?
Whaleback actually sells out also. Cause once I sell out, I don't have an issue helping a neighbor out. So I send people like crazy to Whaleback, and Whaleback did 8 weeks this year and they sold out. So that was enough test for me to say, yeah, we can rightfully support
Yeah.
that.
So do you go further into August with the
Yeah.
extra two? Is that a problem with, cause a lot of the kids are,
They want to make money. They don't make enough money.
some of them go back to college or.
So I only had one staff this year that was actually a college student. And she actually, if we would have went longer this year, wouldn't have cared because she was actually student teaching. So she didn't start for another, I think, 4 weeks after. So she would have been A-okay with it. All my other kids are all Mascoma High School students, so not a struggle there. Yeah.
So I think it's a good idea, Dimitri, if we keep filling up that quickly to look at the possibility of expanding. It's a lot harder than just opening more slots.
So if you expanded more slots, how would that affect your personnel costs? Like,
We'd have to add more personnel,
well, I understand that, but
which
so
would affect costs.
about what does it cost for adding like one person, which means you can add 8 slots? Right.
You doing the math?
Yeah, but I was not great at that.
Let's do it there. It's about $5,500 per person or so.
So
Tuition for that
8
would
kids
be
into that, that's a good price.
How much do they pay for summer camp? It's more than that.
Oh, summer camp, I want to say 155. Cheap. It,
Yeah. It is cheap.
and Whaleback, actually is pushing 200.
So it's
But we, as kind of the building rentals and everything, we want, I think, I don't know.
Yeah, most
what
of our
their-
stuff's a little bit low on cost.
Yeah, and it's because we have the variety. I mean, we have people that are low income, people that are high income, so I want it to be available for anyone, just like the community building. That's why it's only 50 is so, there's still a fee, but it's available to anyone in our community.
So you'd have to
the
add.
difference is the cost of taxpayers.
So 8 kids is about $10,000 in revenue.
You'd have to add 34 kids to break even.
Right.
No, like what I'm saying is if one extra high school kid allows you to add 8 children, you're spending 5,500, but you're making 9,920.
No,
Covers
if you're charging $150 a kid,
times
Per
8.
week, times 8 kid times 8 weeks.
Per week, are you?
it's
Divide
for
the
the,
150 into.
is it per week?
$5,500.
50 for 6 weeks. Do you remember that?
Still very low for what they're getting.
And I do think, it's not gonna increase a lot, but I am seeing Butler buses prices move, so it's either the camp prices go up a little bit, or we cut a field trip out, cause they do take a field trip a week. That is kind of pricey. But it is them getting out and away from the park too.
Do we supplement people that have difficulty paying for it?
We don't, we have multiple other organizations around, do we? Well,
We have the ability to.
Yeah.
So every kid that wants to go can go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Listen,
If
listen,
First for 14 minutes.
listen, actually is very good with summer camps. They push on that.
Yeah.
And if someone's interested in a summer camp, they actually reach out to me. So I have a special way, kind of a hidden button, where when people go to register, they let me know, hey, I've got a scholarship. Sends me a check, they verify it. And so when they register, they just hit the button or the little thing that's hidden, and it bypasses the checkout for them. So they still have the exact same opportunity that everyone else does. Because that is one thing that some people had concerns with is, you know, if they have to go to you, are you giving them a spot before you're giving it to someone else? And I said, no, there's a way in our software we can skip it.
Does Listen give you the 150 per week too?
Oh, yeah. Yep. And they have no problem doing it. They love that. Plus we have, the Burn Foundation that's given a few also.
Any other questions? So I said, thank you for coming.
Where are you moving to?
We are going to UVA, Charlottesville, Virginia. Fiance is going to do her fellowship in intensive care at UVA.
Good luck.
That's our next 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's currently 75 there.
But they don't have snow coming.
That's okay. I got a car that doesn't like snow.
Next up is the library. Welcome, Kate. Thanks for coming. You know,
Okay. So this year's budget is very similar to last year's. We're not actually asking for any increases. We actually took a decrease in the meeting and hearing records. We zeroed that out. It was 125, but it hasn't been used for years and it wouldn't cover someone taking record notes anyway, so we just zeroed that out. The other increases that we saw are just from the town contracts. An increase in the internet. But then we have a decrease in the copier because the contract came in cheaper.
The jump in internet is huge. Their town contract go up that much?
Yeah, and we're basing some of that, but the, fiber internet for business is pretty expensive. We were running off some Comcast stuff and we have dual internet that we'll have to be paying for when we get back to Whitney Hall with the police department for a while, so. We are hoping once the police department's out of there that we can drop one of those internet services.
Okay. I hope my cable at home doesn't go up there.
think there's a little overlap in there too, is there not, for when we're moving?
There-
Could be
there
in two
might be,
places at
that
one
we're-
time,
Oh.
just a little
Covering
bit.
some of both, and it's been an influx the last couple of years.
Anyone have any questions?
What are the special projects?
Yeah, I was gonna ask. What haven't you done this year that you're gonna do next year?
So potentially special projects next year might be paying for a computer. Because there's 2 staff computers that are gonna need to be changed and we're working on paying for that. So that potentially could be what we're gonna use some of that money for. This year, we're using it for a meeting owl and a monitor for the new meeting room. Last year, we used it to buy boxes and tape.
And
To
we may
get
need
moved.
some of that.
So that's kind of the flexibility we have in that line.
What's the breakdown between books and digital media?
Ah, I thought you'd ask me that. So, to date, we have spent $11,000 on digital. We have 4 digital services, and that has bought us 10,000 items. But think of it as not purchasing, think of it more as renting. So that leaves $13,000 for physical items, and that's about 1,000 physical items.
Thank you.
I feel guilty asking you these types of questions, but I feel like I have to.
Don't,
because-
there's no shame at the public library.
So library personnel is going up by 8%. Is that COLA? Is that merit? That's an 8%, or is it additional personnel?
So I'm not part of that discussion. That would be the trustees and head.
So this is based completely on the compensation plan. One of the positions that was way below was
Okay.
the library director, but I am working with the library trustees right now.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out exactly what we're gonna give, but I budgeted this on the high side coming into this meeting, and as decisions are made, we may be able to pull that down a little bit.
And is the goal, Ed, that this would get them all the way to where we need them to be, and then going forward, it would just be,
This would be bringing every position except the library director's position to the full compensation study.
okay. Follow-up question would be, we go up by, I guess it's only 7% for, part-time. Is that the same situation?
Yeah, that's just moving them
To where they
Up
should be?
to where they should be.
Okay. Thank you.
And those positions were extremely low when we started. This will bring them all the way up with the 2 years, but
They were at 13.
they were at $13 an hour, which was pretty low.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's large percentage increases, small dollar increases.
I remember, one of the things I remember about that compensation study was for Kate's position, I was in shock when I saw how far off it was. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
It wasn't, remember?
Yeah, it's another one of those,
Yeah.
you know, look at what all the other library directors do, what do we do here? And,
Right,
you know, the hard part's
apples to apples.
finding where it needs to be in that range.
Right, because that average was, well, like, it was an average of people who have worked in that position for a long time. And Kate was just, her first job as director was when she came here. And also there are some libraries, like for Lebanon example, he has responsibility for 2 buildings. So when you average things in like that, it makes a huge difference.
Thank you.
And where do we, capture heat? Because one of the advantages of redoing Whitney Hall is we're not gonna be spending thousands and thousands on oil every month.
Yeah, we just have a line item for the town for propane, heating oil, those types of things.
Gotcha.
This will be 100% electric building when we get done, so it'll be on the electric bill line for the entire town.
Gotcha, thank you.
But yes, it is fully dense pack insulated or spray foamed from bottom to top. High efficiency heat pumps, and so it should be much better than it was before. We will not be filling an oil tank every 3 days. I'll let you know that. Because we don't have one, but but also because there's not as many holes in the building.
When's the big move gonna happen?
January sometime. I mean, we're getting close enough to December now. We have enough things to do. The library is one of them. Once we get the, okay, you can move in, we gotta get shelving there, we gotta get it mounted, we gotta get it down before we can start moving everything over. And so we'll be working together to get the building ready for us, and then we'll all move over at one time. They're getting closer and closer down there, and
Yeah,
Both,
look,
both the library and the town office will move at the same time.
yes. So they're putting carpet in the basement right now, so finishing touches are going in. We have a lot of little things to do. We're getting there.
I think you do an outstanding job at the library. I think, it's really nice to see in the listservs the programming that you're doing now, and I think that's a nice service to the town. And I commend you for getting it all done.
Thank you, Jane.
Yes. It's expensive. I really like the electronic media.
Yeah.
I check stuff out all the time.
Any other question? Tracy?
Kate mentioned that the conference room at the library is going to have an owl, which is great. Will that room be available for other meetings as well?
So that will be driven by policy and the trustees build policy. So yes,
We're working on it.
I think the answer is yes, it is going to be. The only issue is that this meeting room will only be used during open hours. It can't be isolated from the library, so it can't be used after hours. So that's part of the policy.
But it could be used if scheduled for daytime meetings, for example.
I think, yes, again, they're still working on building that policy, but yes, that's the intention for the library to shift to more of a community centered, less traditional library. So yes, people should be using the space.
Schedule, for example, people could contact the library and ask what's available.
Yep. Yep.
Great.
Well, and I can let you know, we designed into Whitney Hall on the downstairs a meeting room that has a bathroom next to it and a little kitchen area for a coffee maker or something that we designed purposely to have an interior and exterior door coded door lock. So that can be used 24 hours a day, 7
Smaller
days a
room
week.
or?
It's about the same size. It's a little smaller, but it's close to the same size. So, I mean, it would push these tables together, it would fit a table like this to meet around. So it's a small meeting room.
Excellent.
We also are taking the theater area, turning that into a big meeting room. And then there's a small meeting room off of that depending on how we do things moving forward, but I think the thought behind that is some of that could be used, and then the public safety building will also have a large and small meeting room that can be used, that we've purposefully coded in a way where we could give someone from the public a code to that, they could go in, use the meeting room and get nowhere else in the building. So there's gonna be plenty of meeting space in the town now, and some of it that we can use for our small meetings and groups. We can allow some other groups, and we can talk with the select board when we're done about possibly having meeting space that people can rent.
So there'll be a meeting room larger than this room?
The whole theater will be a meeting room, which will fit hundreds and something people, so
What's the capacity for this room?
I don't know. I'm guessing it's probably
About
80, 60 to 80, yeah. Depending on how you see it.
Quite a bit bigger.
It's more than double the size of this room, or about double the size of
That's
this
cool.
room.
That'd be good for hearings.
I am looking at, once we move in, it probably won't be ready. I'm getting one bid, and I'm gonna be working on an RFP to get more bids to put pretty good audio visual stuff in there. And then my long-term plan is for select board, zoning board, planning board to move down there and have good audio video, have a room big enough to host people when they have hearings, those types of things. So,
I mean, it's rare that we fill this room for a planning board hearing, but we did it twice this year.
yeah, no, I think it'd be nice to have it. It'd be nice to have the better technology there. I mean, we won't be using OWL cameras there. We'll have something better than that works with the teams. I mean, OWL wouldn't work in that big space, so we'll have some better stuff. It is a plan. It's not in this year's budget, but maybe in the future year's budget, and we'll talk a little bit more about it in the future. I think I have a funding source for it to be able to buy owls for all the smaller meeting rooms, get TV, so all of them will be set up in a way where you can have a hybrid type meeting. So,
Great.
Okay, can you give us a little bit of feedback on the storybook walk?
So I don't receive a lot of feedback
Okay,
about
that's what I-
it, but it is fully installed.
Right.
We have kept a story in it since we put it in.
Right.
So we've been through about 5 stories. I don't receive a lot of feedback. If it didn't have anything in it, that's when I would receive the feedback. If it was neglected,
Yeah,
that's when I would
wondering,
receive
yeah.
the feedback. I think it's something that I hope that as we move forward, other entities in town will use it, like Old Home Days could do something. It doesn't just have to be for children's storybooks. I mean,
No.
it's anybody that has some information they want to share with the public could use it, and it could actually be used for events even, so.
I wonder if Kevin gets
Sorry, what are you
feedback from
talking
it.
about?
So there's a permanent story walk installation that goes around the Shaker Ball Fields.
Okay.
So, we put a storybook in it every about 3 months. And so we walk and read these stories and do activities, movements, different things, but it doesn't have to just be used for the library. It could be used, anybody that has information that they want to share and host an event. It's not the library story walk, it's the town. We partnered with Rec to get the grant and stuff, and it really is the town story walk. I keep it full because, like I said, if we don't have something in it, we're going to hear about it. And
Yep.
it's a beautiful story walk. It should be used.
Well, and it's great for a story walk for a book like that. The reason we put it where we put it was, you know, a lot of parents come to sports and they bring their elementary age kids and they have younger kids, and it's a nice little
Mhm.
walk that they can do and read the book and keep them busy and get some exercise. Not that the kids wouldn't get exercise, but helps the parents if they have to walk around it.
I'll have to go.
Yeah.
We'll groom it and she'll put a book for cross-country skiing.
I know I told Kate, my daughter Kate, and we were over at Coralie's game, and the team from Lebanon, there were a lot of little kids running, so she went over and told them about the story walk.
Yeah.
Because it takes a while to spread the word.
Yeah.
But once you've done it once, you might come back
Oh,
again,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Well, and we do promote it.
Yeah.
We do, you know, when we put in a new story, we post about it.
We should put it in a town newsletter.
It's in the newsletter. It's every place that we post. We are
Yeah.
trying to promote it as much as we can, and we are trying to talk to other organizations that they should use it. I mean, anybody can use it. It's, like I said, it's not the libraries, it's
You
the
could
town.
do a scavenger type thing.
You could do many different activities, you
You
could
know,
do nighttime activities, yeah. So, yeah, and I hope people will use it.
It was a loaded question, because I just wanna
It's
get
okay.
the knowledge out there
It's okay.
amongst us. I
Apparently
know
some of
it
us
there.
needed it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you don't know
That's
those
good to
I
get.
things,
was
and then
aware of
it's,
it.
no,
Yeah. I was-
but it's kind of neat that a little town has a nice ball field and they've got something that other kids can use while they're waiting for siblings, you know?
Yeah.
And it is a good choice of a place to put it.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of, the value, so many times that parking lot is full.
Beyond full, and we need to look at that. Good thing we're not adverse to parking on the grass, not on the field, but on the grass.
Well, it's a really nice wide open space. The field is a really nice wide open space, and that really works for children that sometimes have sensory issues and can't do a playground or something. This is wide open.
Do you remember, John, when we were doing the park? I remember in the hearing, somebody said to me, nobody's ever gonna use it. Like, well, I think they will.
Very true.
It's sure you.
That's
And
often the
they were
response.
just, didn't, you know, nobody's gonna use it. I thought, holy cow.
I think they said the
And
same
I
thing.
rarely
That's
go
gonna
by
make
there.
some park
Somebody-
too.
Another
Great
thing
place
that's
for-
used a lot is that dog park.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
No, and those recreation assets are huge. And, you know, we're starting to expand. Kevin left, but you know, he's talking to people right now about some Tai Chi classes and some of those types of things. So, we're gonna work with that. I'm really gonna, now that
They're
we,
already doing that.
yeah, they started one, but we're
There's a
talking
library.
about some other ideas. But, you know, one of the charges I'm gonna have for the next person, instead of just taking over and building rec into a full-time thing, is to really start working on some more middle-aged and adult type activities that
I'm hearing pickleball.
really don't have. We're working on it. We put in one grant and we didn't get it, but.
Use the new paddle, please.
I don't play that much. I know it's a better.
I hate it.
So it is something we're trying to grow to give people some outlets in the evening and weekends and different things.
Any other questions or comments? No? Thank you for coming, Kate.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Budget updates, health insurance.
So yeah, I just wanted to give you guys some updates on a few things we've been working on in the budget. We continue to look at the budget all the time, but health insurance, I'm gonna say we finally wrapped up. We're working with a company now. We're switching from Health Trust to a straight Anthem plan through Rogers and Gray, which Brad turned us on to last year after the budget committee. So I thank him for sending us in that direction. We're looking at a high deductible plan, about $5,000 deductible, 8,000 maximum out of pocket. With the 3,000 out of pocket, working with Rogers and Gray, we thought it was a good idea, together through their EAF program. The employee and employer funds it. We'll be funding 80% of it. They'll fund 20%, but we are looking at funding the deductible at 100% the first year as we transition from a no deductible plan to a high deductible plan. We already have employees that are freaking out. So I think making this switch will help them. And then I do have a plan, and I've talked with Rogers and Gray about looking at our usage and shifting that down over the next couple of years to try to find what I'll call the sweet spot where a lot of your employees that don't use a lot of health insurance will be covered with the deductible, and then your higher user people will have a little bit more out of pocket to pay. So we'll be looking at that, but the good news is instead of seeing a 9% increase in healthcare costs this year, we're going to be seeing $125,000 decrease in health insurance costs. We had a little bit more than that in savings, but as me and Brad talked a little bit, and we've already found one thing that wasn't really added in, so that we know there's going to be a little bit of cost that we didn't associate for. So it looked like the total cost savings was going to be about $150. I'm going to budget $125,000 less. We'll see what we use through this year, and with changes next year, I don't want to say we'll see another decrease because health insurance seems to increase every year, but hopefully, and what the plan is through this PFA, it works a lot like an HRA, so the money comes in from both directions. We know it's not going to be fully spent on everybody's deductible, so there'll be money that can stay residing in the fund. He said a lot of their businesses that they use roll that from year to year to keep the increases and see little to no increases from year to year because of that. So we're going to continue working in that direction, but I'm going to say I'm happy to say that we can see a $125,000 decrease from what we budgeted last year in healthcare, and we'll be doing education and moving in that direction. And hopefully we can make a few more shifts in the next year or two.
So
As
the
we-
rollover would go for everybody in, all the employees
All the
or just those that haven't spent their full deductible?
If they spend their full deductible, there's nothing to roll over.
But there's the rollover with their partner.
Well, each person has
So it's
5,000.
by
It's by person.
Not by.
Yeah.
Not by all employees.
So if some family happens to spend their entire
They
deductible,
don't have a roll.
then there's nothing to roll over, but it just goes into the fund, so it's not rolled over person by person. It's put into this fund, there's a certain amount of money that goes in there. Whatever's not spent, which we're not gonna spend it all, go on record saying that money will roll over to next year. We won't know what that is till we get closer to the end of next year, but we can make some pretty good assumptions coming into this time of year when we have open enrollment and know.
So
What
if
it's
somebody has a family plan and they have like 2 kids, they're talking 20,000.
No, there's a $10,000 cap.
Yeah.
Is it 10 or?
I think it's 10.
I think it's 10. I think it's $5,000 deductible, $10,000 family max. And then there's $8,000 max out of pocket, $16,000 total max. And the difference between those really comes down to pharmaceuticals, that your deductible comes out and there's still a copay for pharmaceuticals up to that certain $8,000, $16,000 point.
So are the employees who are freaking out, are they freaking out about next year or 2026? Because they're afraid they're gonna.
Next year, it's change.
It's changed.
Yeah, change period. Oh my gosh, we've never had a deductible. We're gonna have this money. We're educating them right now that, you know, they're gonna get a debit card, so it's not even gonna be an out-of-pocket expense that's reimbursable. They just slide their card and it's paid for. So I think it was the right thing to do to move this step and then look at getting the next step next year. Helping people stay as comfortable as possible. They've had the same insurance plan for a long, long time and change has changed. It's unknown and it scares people.
Because there's always unexpecteds anyways.
Yeah.
But do you feel like they're so nervous or upset or whatever that they're gonna abandon ship?
I don't think so. I think once we do the education, and that was part of the reason I made the decision to go where we are, because I think I can confidently say right now, it's gonna save the town and the employees money on a paycheck to paycheck. So, you know, it's gonna be a little bit more money in their pocket going home, and I think I can confidently say it's better insurance than you had last year for a lot less money. And then as we find the right percentage of what we want to fund the deductible over the next few years, like I said, I think we can hit that sweet spot where most of our employees will still have really good coverage, little out of pocket.
So it's the education, are you like picking a scenario and saying, so if this
No,
happened,
we're bringing the professionals in to
you
talk
do
to
that,
them.
they do. That's good.
I would think that most communities are having similar problems.
They are.
To make.
I'm gonna say we were very common. We actually we have more of a cost share to our employees than most every other town around. Most of them are in that 90 to 95% range of what the town is paying. Most of our employees are at that 80-20 mark, and one of the things we are gonna do, and I've talked to the people that were grandfathered from the last one, and they're paying less than that. With this shift, we're gonna try to pull them to 80-20, but I have promised all of them that I'm not gonna raise their insurance rates to do that. So if we meet somewhere in the middle to be there, we'll be there, but.
It's an easy place.
So the ones that were grandfathered may not get as much of a reduction as some of the others that were already paying 80-20, but.
8 years ago, when I retired, we were almost at 70-30.
Yeah, no, I
And
was figuring most people were getting close to 80-20, and then it ran the listserv, and there were very few that were even at 85%. Most all of them were 95% covered by the town or city.
That's a good thing.
It is, but like I've told the employees as we're working through this, that, you know, it's a great benefit. It's nice to have, but it doesn't pay the electric bill. And when we're struggling with people in the $23-24 an hour, you know, they're trying to pay bills, a reduction in healthcare costs, not necessarily healthcare, but a reduction in cost, again, the 20% they're paying, they get to see the same reduction that the town's seeing. And that's, you know, it's gonna help them on a week-to-week basis.
And it's pretty much the same providers that can continue with their same.
It's still, they're both Anthem products, so it's exactly the same provider. That was another thing we really weighed in to our decision, that we did get another cost from someone else that actually was a little more expensive too, so made the decision easy, but it was a different network. I can't say that people would have to shift their doctors. We didn't study the networks enough to know that, but just knowing, hey, we're changing your insurance and we're changing networks, and you may or may not have to change your providers and
Get a different card.
so, you know, I think this was a really good step in the same network to keep people in their same doctors as comfortable as possible and still save the town about $125,000. If I want to move on, finance program, I've been negotiating with them. Not as much luck on getting the cost down. But what I did find as we're working through that is we're about a year out on the waiting list for build out and getting finance software. So with that, I've negotiated with them a different payment schedule. I don't have exact numbers for you right now, but it's, we can budget instead of that 60 to 70 range that I was looking at, we can budget something closer to the $35,000-40,000, I think, right in that range. And be able to pay that over a 2-year cycle. And then if we're able to manage our budget well next year, which I hope we can, we may be able to pay a little bit of that forward and not have to put it in next year's budget. So I'm still hopeful that the budget committee and select board will support moving to that finance software. We continue to struggle with ours a lot.
It sounds like we're gonna have to.
We're having lots of problems even, we had one this week where the sick leave and vacation accruals aren't working right. And we've asked them 3 or 4 times to help us fix them. And, employees get pretty frustrated when they get their vacation and it's not right. And it's because it's not accruing right in the system. It's not our fault for not taking vacation or something.
It creates a lot of distrust.
It's a lot of issues and, I will talk to them and see if I can, before the end of the budget session, have them come in and at least run you guys through what the budget module looks like and the things that you can expect. Cause, I think from a reporting standpoint, I think the select board and budget committee would be a lot happier too. And then I think having that forward facing portal as well for everybody year round to look at, budget versus actuals and different expenditures that are updated on an hourly basis would be nice to be able to go in and say, hey, where are we at? You can drill down and look at different things. Just will give a lot more transparency. So it's not money I wanted to spend, but I do think it's something we need to be looking at.
Cybersecurity.
Keep going. Yeah.
I have questions.
Yes.
Is there a
Yes,
way
sir.
we can bring them in December during one of the 2 meetings rather than wait until like January?
I will ask them.
Thank you.
So the cybersecurity issue that we had, I can't give a lot more information than you maybe already read in the newspaper, but maybe a little bit more. It was, I'm gonna say, the classic phishing scheme, if you will. There may have been a cybersecurity breach on us or the vendor, the Secret Service and our IT group and another third-party forensic cybersecurity team are looking at that to see, because there was some. It was an email chain from a couple months ago that got reestablished, if you will. So it looks like they got one of our emails somehow, but talking with the professionals, there's multiple ways to do that. They can hack our system, they can hack a vendor system, and they also have the technology now to intercept emails as they're going from one place to another. So who knows where it happened, but anyway, our protocol when you get something like that was to get that, you can go ahead and have the conversation and get the new banking information, if you will, if that's what they're asking for. But our protocol stated when you got that done, you went to the file, you pulled a known phone number, you called the company and you talked to them. That is the protocol that was not followed. They conversed via email and made the change. And we did put a lot of other things in place this summer with, dual electronic transfer authorization, those types of things, but the treasurer who's reviewing the payments and authorizing the payments isn't checking every single account number that comes through there. They're looking at, is this the right amount of ETFs that's supposed to be going in and out, those types of things. So with that, I can't talk exact numbers right now while it's still under investigation and I'm working with the select board, but as we've said in there, it was a fairly substantial sum of money. It was from our public safety building account, and we're, I guess you can do the math in your head a little bit. It's about a 1-year project and it's about $6-something million. So it was a hefty payment. We have heard from the Secret Service that a decent portion of that was captured by Bank of America. So I do want to thank them for watching closely and stopping it. As I don't know how fast they have to stop it to keep it from going away, but I'm guessing they have to act pretty quickly.
What percentage were they able to get out of the total without going over raw numbers?
Somewhere in the half range, a little more. So they won't tell us. We don't know the numbers. They won't tell us the numbers. There's a lot of legal stuff going on back there, but, so we're continuing to work on that. All we would have at this point would be assumptions, and that's part of the reason we're not putting numbers out to, just don't want people freaking out, panicking, seeing rumors, and we don't even know what the data is, so.
Do you have an idea when we will know?
I don't. I'm hoping to know fairly soon on what we think's coming back, and then we'll have a better idea by then.
And are we insured?
We are insured. It's not insured for the full amount, so, and the way insurance works, they're gonna do an investigation and tell you what they're gonna give you. And so, we don't necessarily have the number that we think we'll get back from that, but we are insured. They're paying for the third-party forensic team, those types of things. Our police department and the third-party forensic team are working with the Secret Service, is who we're working with mostly right now. We did contact the FBI. We have someone we know that works in the FBI cybersecurity unit, so we called and they went ahead and got on it. We were told early on that that through the US government, they either put the FBI or the Secret Service on it. I can say, because we had friends in good places, we have both of them working on it, so that's nice, but we'll continue working on that.
So there's gonna be some number that the insurance doesn't cover that we don't get back, right? There's gonna be some number that the select board's gonna have to deal with. How, we're gonna make that up somehow, right? I mean, that number's gotta be made up somehow.
Yeah, we'll see where it's at, where I think we're gonna land. Not that it's a good news story, but I think it's a manageable amount in this project. So coming up with extra money, I don't think is what's gonna happen.
Mhm.
Not that we wanna end up with a loan that we weren't able to spend all of it, but it's better than saying, hey, we need another this much money. So I do think we're gonna land in a manageable range, and then we'll just have to figure out what we do from there, but.
I mean,
Very
it sounds,
unfortunate.
yeah, it sounds to me like, if we aren't able to recover 10% or 25% of a substantial number, it's still gonna be a substantial number.
Yeah, it's still gonna be enough. So
It's
I'll
gonna hurt, and that,
let you guys know, but I think it's getting to a point that's manageable, that we can manage within the project. So, I'll let you know that as soon as we know, and
So in
as
the
soon as we have plans of
more,
how we think we can manage our way through it or do it, we'll get that out as well.
Unfortunately, it's a very common thing.
It is, and when I talked to the president of Mascoma Bank, he didn't give any details, of course, but he said there's not many businesses around here that are unscathed at this time. I talked to SimQuest, and they said over the past month and a half, the phishing attempts through their clients has went up 300%.
Well,
So, and he said they expect it through the entire holiday season, that it'll probably go back down at some point, but I think it's gonna be pretty.
Has anybody suggested in Secret Service or FBI or otherwise, that our protocols were not, up to?
No, and they won't really be looking at that, but we're looking at every way we can to make them better, and, I'm gonna say harder to follow. I mean, it slows everything down, which is not a bad thing when you're dealing with finances. So we've already written a new policy that we'll be discussing at the select board level, and we'll be talking some more. We've looked through multiple finance policies from different places to see if there's little things that we missed.
Mhm.
The one thing we are gonna do that we've already written in the policy is just divide those duties up a little more, so it has to go through more than one person,
Mhm.
and so. I think that's the best way to do it. The more eyes you get, the better
Right.
chance of someone saying, well, one, we need to follow protocol, and two, something doesn't seem right.
So Ed, from where I sit, I don't know anything more than what was in the press release. It looks like you responded very, very quickly, with multiple points and you communicated very well. So thank you for
I
that.
can tell you that. I got the call at about 5:35 when I was driving to the select board meeting that night. If you were in the select board meeting or you watched the tape, I was in and out of the meeting the whole night long. I was on the phone with our cybersecurity team. I was talking to the third party forensic team already. They were the ones getting a hold of the cybersecurity and the Secret Service. We got the employee on the phone that night, so they could ask them questions. It wasn't drawn out. And then I called our police department that night, and together we decided we would do the formal police report in the morning. And that's when they contacted the Secret Service again and the FBI. And
So how does this impact your cash flow right now and making your payments?
we're continuing to watch that. Of course, that's going to hit cash flow a little bit. We're also still waiting for a tax rate, so hopefully we can get that lined out really soon. We got our portion done. I'm gonna be talking to the select board Monday night about a portion that needs to get done for DRA. And then hopefully we get that soon. Once we can get those bills out, we'll have cash flow coming back in. And we still have some money in our loan accounts, so we can transfer those over, but we'll be continuing to watch those. I don't expect that we're gonna have to get a tax anticipation note because of it, but we'll continue to watch. We have started through Mascoma Bank, the procedure to get that money returned. But they did say that that could take up to 6 to 8 weeks to get the money actually back, so.
So the contingency if cash flow runs too low will be a tax loan.
If it gets too low, we'll have to look in that direction, but, you know, at this point, I'm not seeing that, but we'll be continuing to watch it and we'll see. If we can get a tax rate soon, I think we'll be fine. If that gets delayed a little bit too long, then we'll have to see how that goes, but.
So, DRA, what's the turnaround time once you send your information? Does it take weeks or days or?
It really depends how busy they are, is what I would say. I mean, if all the towns are hitting at the same time, it takes them longer to get it turned around.
Yeah.
I hope we're down to one issue on the MS1, which is the valuation report.
Mhm.
I think we can probably get that ironed out in the next week and then hopefully get a tax rate pretty quickly, so.
Well, you sure did stay cool, calm and collected that night. In news like that, I noticed you go out, but, there wasn't any indication that there was something like that going on. My gosh.
That's what I get paid to do. Stay cool, calm and collected.
So can I ask a question on your protocols too? So, all right, so there's always a training issue. But I've been to plenty of trainings that in a few months, I probably ought to hear some of it at least again. And so do you have a plan or are you gonna get a plan maybe to do the retrain?
We're
you know?
increasing training.
Okay.
I hate to say it this way, but I don't know that would have helped a
No,
lot.
I get it.
We
but-
had
and
We had
after a while, you don't-
multiple conversations throughout our finance department of this exact scenario over the summer, and I think,
Still happen.
with the reply from a legitimate email conversation that was going on, busyness in the office, all those little things, human error.
Yep.
Took place, and
No chance to catch these guys, right?
I can't, but hopefully the Secret Service can.
I would assume that they're
Very rare that they get,
absolutely.
Yeah.
very rare. It's most of it's overseas,
Yeah.
Asia.
Yeah, most of the
it's
time
done
it-
very quickly.
Well, we've heard other scenarios from other towns where it like hits a bank account and splits into multiple bank accounts and multiple bank accounts overseas, and it's almost untraceable.
Mhm.
To get the call to say, hey, we've captured some of the money was.
Yeah.
That night, laying in bed, staring at the ceiling. Your head was running the full amount the whole time, and so, hopefully that they can get a little bit more back, but I'm not hanging my hat on that, so. When we get the actual number, we'll have a little bit more of a plan of what we need to do and what to do going forward.
What's the upper limit of our insurance?
From the cybersecurity side, it looks like it's $75,000.
Should we consider increasing that? I have 1 million.
Yeah, we can definitely look at it. I mean, that's what's provided through Primex on those, but that's definitely something that we've looked at is doing that. The other thing we're looking at putting in place is limiting the amount of electronic funds transfers that we're allowed to do.
Right.
So we'll be doing that. We've already done that. I've told the select board as we're drafting this new policy, everything in the draft is in place immediately. And if we change things, we'll implement that, but I wasn't gonna wait till the draft's done to implement anything. So that's implemented. We actually put our cap right now at $75,000, which is what our insurance limit is, and we'll stick with that. Our risk is a lot lower there. I can let people know this is happening in every way you pay people. I've had 4 towns contact me this year that their checks were intercepted in the post office, washed and reused. So, I mean, it's happening all over, but not to that level. I mean, I'm guessing if someone brought a check in a large amount like that, that I'm hoping the bank would be a little bit more vigilant than a few $1,000 check or
Thank
something.
you for bringing that in. We'll see you tomorrow.
So, but we'll see. But yeah, we are, I mean, we're increasing our safeguards, so this doesn't happen again. And that person will not be in that position anymore, so there is a job ad out if you know somebody that's AP payable.
Sad all around.
Mhm.
Are there any public comments, Tracy? Any other business? Any
I have a
questions?
request. So I made my summary spreadsheet and I got all the logic working. If the town could email me the latest and greatest Excel file, I can update it with all the numbers and then I can have it available at the next meeting next week.
We'll do that. We do have some numbers to change, the health insurance, a few of those we have not updated, so we'll get those updated and get those back to you.
And then what I plan to do is I'll update it, I'll send it back to you, Ed, for you to review and to confirm that the numbers are right. And then I don't have the big printer like you guys had. It would be great if you could print a bigger copy again.
Yeah.
And I think that would be appreciated. And then if there's time next week, we could review it, or we could review it the week after. It doesn't matter to me.
I say we shoot for that first meeting in December. That's a budget review date.
Yep.
The other thing that was supposed to be tonight was what do we call them?
Regional.
Social service, the regional requests. They're not quite done, so we'll probably move those to that first meeting in December as well.
I don't understand what regional organizations
You
are.
will.
They're nonprofits that request money from.
Visiting nurses and all those other.
Okay, gotcha, thank you.
Advanced transit. I was gonna say.
That is one. I'll talk to you guys. I was gonna talk to them as well. I did request their financials, but I moved that request into economic development. Cause I believe transportation is a critical part of the town, so.
Just as long as they hit their date.
They have, we already know stuff, but
Yeah.
moving it into the budget, they will not be a regional request anymore, so. But I'm still gonna request their financials annually, so.
So the next meeting is when we start discussing changes in the proposals. Is that
Next.
December, next,
On your agenda.
Next meeting,
yeah.
Development.
okay?
So
19th,
December 12th.
Yeah.
Okay.
we moved the meetings around because of the holidays, so.
Yep, next week will be DPW and then we'll move into December.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It has to be, by
Oh, right, we have to do a roll call. You can start, Dimitri.
Yeah. I'm in favor.
Shirley Green, I'm in favor.
Jane Plumley, I'm in favor.
John Klug, yes.
Aye, Dave Buffet.
Dan Regan, yes?
Brad Rich, yes.
Jim Pickett, yes.
Oh, one more comment. Did you guys get the email that Nancy, was it Nancy that's not there?
Yes,
Hold on.
and Jean.
And Jean.
So Nancy
Jean's-
said, Nancy and Jean notified me they couldn't make it.
Yes.
Oh.
Jean's broke.
One House Miller.
That's right.
Yeah.
The other person.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's still trying to, hard to keep him going.
Yeah. Me too.
Thank you.
Thank you.